Well, good Monday morning, everyone. Brand new week. And what a week it is. This week is probably, I don't even know why I said the word probably. This week is the most important when it comes to the Christian calendar, because in this week alone is Good Friday, where Jesus went to the cross, and Easter Sunday. He is risen. He is risen indeed. We're going to celebrate both of those this week, and I hope that you'll join us all week long. Now, actually, before we even get going, I just want to remind you early on so you can plan. Our Good Friday service at Saddleback Church is at 1 o'clock on Friday in Clubhouse 7. So that will be a great one you do not want to miss. Then on Sunday at 9 and 11, great time of celebration that won't be complete if you're not there. I'm serious. We need you there. We need to worship together. And if you're a member of another church, you go celebrate in that church, but don't miss it. Okay, so in previous years on Inspiration for Today, we've walked you through day by day what happened on those days in that week that Jesus spent, the last week of his earthly life. And those are good shows. We went down to Rancho Capistrano, our campus, and looked at all the mosaics that really are kind of like the Stations of the Cross in the Catholic Church, and depicting what took place. And those are great shows. I hope that you'll take the time to go on YouTube and find them and look at them. This year, though, we're going to take a different tact, and we're going to talk about why. Why did Jesus do that? Because clearly, it was not a pleasant thing that he did. And we're going to look at the reason. And the reasons are many, but they all go back to his nature, God's nature. We sometimes, theologian calls us the attributes of God. You see, in many ways, it's his attributes that came into play, his characteristics, his very nature. And we're going to talk about those all week long and then bring them all together on Friday. And Friday we'll wrap it up because, you see, they all come into play. And the first one we want to talk about and need to talk about and need for you to understand is God's justice. God is just. How do I know that? Let me give you our verse for this day, this Monday morning, okay? Comes from Deuteronomy chapter 32. It could come from 100 different places, but I chose this one. Deuteronomy chapter 32 at verse 4, and it says, He, God, is the rock. His works are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong, upright and just is he. God is just. That's part of his nature. That's part of his nature. And I know that you're glad that it is. It bothers us greatly when things are not just. When the criminal gets off free because of some technicality and you know he did it. It bothers you, doesn't it? Of course it does, because that's a reflection. We're just reflecting God's nature. God's nature is just. And it's a good thing. Repeatedly, he is called the judge. He will judge the whole wide world. And that's part of our future, to be judged. Now, we're going to get to very, very shortly, today or tomorrow, why we're okay when it comes to that. But the reality is that the fact that God judges our actions brings meaning to life. If all we did meant nothing, And to anyone, life would be meaningless. But you say, why did God have to go to the cross? Can he just say, no, I just forgive and forget? But you see, that's not possible. It's not possible because justice is just an outflowing of his nature. And that nature doesn't change. Psalm 119, verse 89 says that his nature, the law is unchanging because it is firmly fixed in the heavens. God can't set aside his wrath against sin. God hates sin because another of his attributes, which we're not going to talk much about, is his holiness. And when God is holy, he has no sin in him, and he hates sin. So God's justice, you see, is not just something that he chooses to follow. It's him. It's him. And without justice, without wrath for sin, he would not be God. And death doesn't follow. Romans 6:23 says the wages of sin is death. And he can't just set aside that. He doesn't just, death follows sin not because God said so, but it's because sin is a rebellion against life, against him. And God is life, right? So what it just is sin? You say, I don't sin much. But sin, remember, is any thought or action that doesn't measure up to God's holiness and absolute perfection, which we read in our verse for the day. It's everything that opposes his holy nature. For instance, lying, not telling the truth is wrong. Why? Why is it wrong? I remember being in India years ago, and I said to a person, well, that guy is just lying. And the guy said to me, in our culture, that's not a bad thing. Wow, I was blown away. But lying is wrong, not because God chose to dislike it, but because God is truth. Jesus said, I am what? The way and the truth. There is no lying in Jesus. And that's why lying is wrong. I paused there because I was just thinking how to make this point clear. When we say that God is just, and the judge has to have a payment for that which is wrong, it makes, and that payment when it comes to sin is death. The wages of sin is death. So when we say that, he was revealing to us an eternal reality. There is no way around it, except that you say, this is just a rule that he made? No, it's not. It's like saying that Isaac Newton wrote the law of gravity. No, he didn't. He just discovered it. And he described it. And when the Bible says the nature of sin and righteousness, God's law flows from that, his own nature. So God is just. So what do we do about it? We're going to come to that tomorrow. There's several other aspects, characteristics of God that come into play. And we know that it's all those things together that set the stage for Jesus to go to the cross and conquer death. Oh, you don't want to miss tomorrow. We talk about those other aspects of God. I'll see you then. Can't wait. Bye for now.
And I won't worry about tomorrow. I'm trusting